Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Monica, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about quite a number of things, but it's going to surround college graduates, student loans, student loan debt. And this is because one of you who follows me on Instagram, and actually we live in the same town, surprisingly, small world, but you had sent me a link to a video. It was about this girl, and she was talking about how she's in X amount of debt and how was college actually worth it. So there were several things that I did agree with her in that video, but there were also some things that I didn't agree with her. So let's get into the video. First and foremost, if you do not know anything about me, I graduated in 2009 with my bachelor's degree, and then again in 2012 with my MBA. So I have a little bit of experience with college and student loans and student loan debt. So I'll be speaking from my experience. Of course, this is my opinion. Your experience, if you're a college graduate, could have been completely different. Look at the world that we're in today. You do not have to be a college graduate to have a job. You do not need to be a college graduate or have a degree in order to own a business. So with that being said, I went to college because that was what we were taught that you have to do in school by my family. And my family, they all went to college. Granted, when they came over here, they had to retake classes because their college education from Poland did not count for shit here in America. So they had to go to college not once, but twice. So, of course, I've had it instilled in my head that you have to get good grades, you have to do, you know, all of this stuff. I actually enjoy school. I enjoy learning. I enjoy going to school, and I did enjoy all of that. The thing is that I have a shit ton of student loan debt. I have been paying some of it off since I graduated in 2009 with my bachelor's, and some of it I put on deferment until I could no longer keep it on deferment, and I had to start paying it off. So then I was bombarded with a shit ton of debt. And I was working not one, not two, but 3 jobs in order to pay off my student loan debt, because at the time my credit was not good enough for me to be able to refinance my student loans and take my parents off as co-signers and everything like that. So when I graduated, so let me just go into college, that sort of thing. So when I started college, the admissions office had actually told me, and my dad, because we went on a tour of the campus, told me that I was guaranteed a job when I left college. Of course, you can't guarantee these things because some people do terrible in college. And you might not even get your degree if you're flunking out of every single class. So when I was told that, I took it with a grain of salt, because I was like, how can you possibly guarantee a job to a student that you know nothing about? Because what if I was the most irresponsible person in the world? You don't know that. So anyway, fast forward to college, the experience itself. I wanted to, while I was in college, I wanted to go to school as well for cosmetology because I wanted to have a backup plan. I'll go over trade schools and that sort of thing later in this video. So fast forward to graduation. I graduated in 2009. Do y'all remember what happened in 2008? The economy crashed. So that guaranteed job that they told me about in 2004, I think it was 2004, obviously was not guaranteed to me anymore. When I graduated with my degree, I was so proud of that degree, and I was so proud of myself. My family was so proud of me, and that is something that you cannot take away from me. You cannot take away that accomplishment and the emotion that I had when I received that degree. And just the emotion behind how proud I made my parents. So the girl in the video that I'm referring to in my video, I will actually agree with her that a lot of school counselors, a lot of teachers, a lot of parents, they'll always tell you, not always, obviously, but from my experience and obviously from her experience as well, because she's saying the same thing, but that if you go to college, you'll get a job, you'll make good money. This is exactly what she said in her video, and you'll be set. Now, that's why when I said in the beginning of this video, when I said how I want to go into trades and everything like that, I personally think that they should stop teaching it that way. And honestly, I think that with what I have seen with a lot of millennials, I'm a little bit of an older millennial. I grew up with no internet. And I grew up with no instant satisfaction sort of a deal. Of, being able to text someone right away or being able to get a hold of someone right away. If someone wasn't home, some people didn't even have answering machines back in the day, or as the kids call it these days, voicemail. So I remember those days where you literally had to wait for everything to happen. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. I think that we need to start teaching children that this isn't the only way that you can succeed in life. And I also believe that seeing a lot of the children nowadays, granted we have the internet, so a lot of them can go on the internet and research whatever they want, but Life 101 should be taught in high school, whether it be by your parents or by teachers. Now, I know that nobody writes checks anymore, but I learned from one of my teachers because she was kind of teaching us Life 101 in 5th grade. And it was little things. It was not even necessarily how to keep track of your finances, but almost in a way. And she taught us how to write out a check. And so she had in our classroom a store that had candy, that had little tiny things like that, erasers, pencils, that sort of thing. And so every time that we did something in the classroom, we would get paid for it in paper money. And so let's say that we got a good grade, or let's say that we got the extra credit right, or let's say that we were really participating in class that day. Everyone always got something, so no one was ever left out. But of course, if you put more effort into it, then you got more out of it, which also participation trophies of this era, I think, are bullshit. I think that diminishes the work of the people who actually work their asses off, and then it gives everyone else the feeling of it doesn't matter how you do, you're gonna be rewarded for it anyway. But anyway, that's a whole nother video. An unpopular opinion for some people, but sorry, I like to keep it real here on my channel. Anyway, I think it was Thursday or Friday, can't really remember, but I know that it was at the end of the week. And we could take our pretend money and we could deposit it into the bank. She was the bank. And then she would tell us that we need to learn how to write checks because a lot of adults write checks. So she taught us how to write checks. So we actually, as 5th graders, learned how to write out a check. And that's how we paid for a piece of candy or whatever we wanted from her little stash of stuff in the store. And we could also pay in cash, but she wanted us to at least, I think it was twice a month, write out a check. And she taught us how to keep track of everything. So, with that being said, I think that Life 101 and financial topics should be discussed in school. And it should be a mandatory thing. Because I know people who do not know how to sew a button. I know people who have no idea how to set up their insurance. I know people, and these are all adult things, but these are things that are not taught. And these people who go to college who have had not all of them, of course, not all of them, but I'm talking about like the stereotypical college student, have not had real life experiences. Drinking with your friends on the weekends at the frat house is not a real life experience. That is an experience, but it's not adulting. It's not being an adult. And so I think that schools and parents need to start shifting the way that we teach our kids. Now, there's nothing wrong with going to a trade school. Honestly, I wish that I would have gone. My fiance went to a trade school. Here's a good example. Here's a good example of why a degree does not matter in the world, okay? And you are not better than anyone. You are not smarter than anyone if you have a college degree. So, and this is me, a college graduate who has an MBA saying this to the world, okay? Take my fiance, for example. He didn't go to college. He went to a technical school after high school graduation to become a mechanic. He wanted to go for engineering, but the school counselor told him that since his grades are so low, he'll never make it into college and don't even bother trying. So the next best thing in his situation was becoming a mechanic. Now, to just give you guys an idea of my fiance and why he would have made a great engineer, and why and I'm not saying this because he's my fiance. I've actually been friends with him. I was friends with him for 10 years before we became an official couple. And we basically friend zone each other for 10 years. So I've known him this entire time. And I know that whenever someone's car broke, he was the guy to call because everyone knew that he would fix it. Even if he had to MacGyver it somehow until the person had enough money to actually pay for the complete repair, he would figure out a way to make it work and have it hold up, or he would figure out a way to fix it for cheaper. And so there's that. He has built a car from the ground up. Literally had the shell of a car and he put an engine in it. He did all of the stuff that's under the hood. He did that. And guess what? The truck is running. And he did that all by himself. Any computer that we use at home that's not my laptop, he has built. He's taught me how to build a computer. And he also grew up in a shop. His father had a woodworking shop. So he has always been a very hands-on person. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is, look at him now. He's not a business owner of just one business, but two businesses. And because the store that I always tell you guys about, that's actually me, him, his brother, and his brother's wife. But he has another business, which is an auto shop. And he runs that. And so that's why I tell people, you don't need a college degree. Student loan companies are making a shit ton of money off of people like me. And the interest rate on these student loans are fucking astronomical. The thing that I did not agree with her on was that the government needs to pay for student loans or get rid of student loans, and that when it's election time, she'll be looking at the candidates that are more for getting rid of student loans. Here's the thing, is if you really want to make a difference, we need to start a movement of basically telling people that college is not the answer for everything. Not everyone is meant to go to college. Not everyone succeeds at getting good grades. And there's a reason for it, because there are people like my fiance who literally cannot sit in a classroom, but if you give him a car that is completely demolished, he'll fix it. And some people's minds, they just work completely differently from the average person. I would consider myself average. I don't think I'm anything special. I'm sitting here telling you guys that I don't think I'm more special, I'm more intelligent, or that I'm better or more elite than people who didn't go to college, because that piece of paper should not make you better than other people. Yes, you went to school for however many years you went to school, whether you went for your associates, your bachelor's, your master's, PhD, whatever. I don't agree with having the government pay for your student loans. It is your responsibility. You're the one that chose to go to school. And the thing is I don't want to be paying for your student loans because guess what? It's not going to be free. It's going to come from somewhere, and it's going to come from the taxpayers. So my parents, because they put not just one, but 2 kids through college, they would love to be able to pay for both of our massive amounts of student loan debt. But they're trying to be fair, and they don't want to pay off one kid's student loans and not the other one. So I went to school knowing that I'm going to be paying for my student loans, that this isn't a free ride for me. And so because my parents would love to be able to pay for my student loan debt, to have to find out that the government's intervening and they're going to make school free, or they're going to take away debt. Now I'm putting that in air quotes because obviously there's going to be a huge process. Obviously it might not even happen because it might not even happen. Or it's these people are just pro for this particular issue. It doesn't actually mean that anything is going to come of it. But for my dad and my mom to not be able to pay for my college and my brother's college, and then have to turn around and have taxes come out to have to pay for other people's college, I don't think that's fair. I really don't. And I don't want to pay for someone else's school because school has only gotten way more expensive than when I graduated back in 2012. And it's only been it's only been several years since I graduated, and the amount of money that these kids are paying nowadays, or their parents, whoever's paying for it, is absolutely insane. It's not for everybody. Nowadays, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. If you look at my work history, when after I couldn't find a job, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go get my master's because 1, I want to do it for myself. 2, maybe I'll be able to find a job when I have a master's degree. So I went to school, and then I graduated and couldn't find a job because I was underqualified in experience, but I was overqualified in education. And how am I supposed to get experience if no one's going to hire me because I'm overqualified with my educational background? So that was the issue that I ran into. And then I finally bumped into someone who just so happened to be looking for a person at this really, really good company. And that was my first, what I like to call, big girl job. I was 24 years old. No, I was 25 years old when I got that job. But how many years did it take me to find that big girl job? And this job paid a shit ton of money. They had really good benefits. They had a really good 401k. They had really good paid time off. And they had a pension plan. I worked there for several years. And then, like 5.5, 6 years. And then I was offered a job that was closer to home, and it was more money. And even though the benefits weren't as great at the time, I just wanted to be closer to home because I was driving. There were days where I literally sat in dead stop traffic for over 2 hours in the morning. And I just was so exhausted from that, I couldn't live that far away. So I took that job that was closer to home. In a sense, it was kind of a mistake because even though it was more money, because the benefits were not as good, I was actually basically taking home the same amount of money, maybe just a little bit more, but because I had to actually pay into my health insurance now, whereas at the last job, I didn't pay a dime for my health insurance. That, the company paid for it. and they had a pension plan, and they had a really, really good 401k. Whereas this place, even though my salary was higher, the benefits were much worse. So in a sense, I was basically getting the same, but I was closer to home. So that was the one perk that I kept telling myself, you're closer to home, even though you're way overworked and everything like that. But here's the thing, is that I was working in customer service. Granted, I had more of like supervisor roles and everything like that, but I was working in customer service. What the fuck does that have to do with a business degree and a master's degree? What does that have to do with that? A high schooler can do they can be a customer service rep. Now, granted, this wasn't like a call center. This was more of, I would say more of like account management than just customer service. But a high schooler could do that. Granted, they might not be as mature as an adult to be able to deal with people constantly screaming at you and telling you that you suck and you're the reason why they're going to lose their job. So you have to be able to keep your cool when in your brain you're thinking, you know, it's not my fault that you don't know how to keep track of your inventory, and that, you know, you're contacting us to build products because some of these things were custom build products, and you want us to build them within 2 hours when your lead time is 3 weeks to do, you know. And that's the thing is, these customers, this is why I'm always really nice to customer service reps, because they do their absolute best that they can, and a lot of people, they have to follow their policies and procedures, and they have to do that. And then when you ask for a manager or supervisor, they have the authority to change the rules. The customer service rep does not. But anyway, that's completely off topic and a story for another day. But I guess the point of this video, the reason why I wanted to make it, is because I kind of wanted to go over what that girl said in her video. So in the end, I wish that I would have gone to a trade school so that I would have had a backup plan. At this point in my life, my college education is more for me and more as a personal accomplishment rather than, you know, I'm elite or better than someone or smarter than someone, because I don't believe that. And I mean, I did the 9-to-5 thing, and as you guys know, I did the MLM thing, and now I'm a business owner. And so I think I've come very far, and quite frankly, my education really didn't help me with that. The only reason why my education helped me get those jobs is because now it is a requirement for you to have a degree. And even if I go over what the criteria was for the jobs that I was at when we would do job postings, literally most of the people had a completely different degree. They had a bachelor's degree, but it wasn't in what we were working on. It was in a completely different field. And the thing is there's people that can literally, if they're talented enough, they'll get that job before you do. And you have a college degree, but at the same time, sometimes someone can be more talented than you and they won't get that job because they don't have that piece of paper. So personally, I think that if you have student loans, you are responsible to pay those off. That is your responsibility. You're the one that chose to go to school, myself included. I chose to go to college. I'm responsible for the student loans that I have, and I'll be paying them for years and years to come. And I've been paying them for 10 years already. And I do think that us graduates, we should be responsible for that. But at the same time, I think that adults also need to be responsible in saying that it's okay if you don't want to go to college. You don't have to go to college. And I do think that the world needs to change a little bit, because not every college graduate is as smart as they like to be. They think they're smart just because they have that piece of paper. And I don't think that's the case. And I guess that's it for this video. If you've watched my ramble up until here, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Monica, reporting to you live from a highway. Bye!